Hello beautiful, welcome back. If you're around here, my name is Tina, I'm the makeup enthusiast. In today's video, I'm here to finally bring you my review on my Natasha Denona Roxa palette. I have been playing with this palette for about a month now, and I've done some looks using this palette. So if you want to see my final thoughts on the Roxa palette, then stay tuned. But before we get into the video, if you're around here and you love watching project panning related content or review based content or other beauty related content, make sure you subscribe down below, and let's jump on in to my thoughts on the Roxa palette. So the Natasha Denona Roxa palette came out around Christmas time. This was part of Natasha Denona's Christmas collection. So it is a very purple themed palette. So this is what it looks like. I picked mine up from Sephora Australia. You can pick this up also still from the Natasha Denona website. I do believe it's limited edition, so I'm not quite sure how much longer this palette will be available. But given that it's still available, I thought that I would bring you my review finally on this palette. So I picked this one up from Sephora Australia for $125. This is a 15 pan palette, so $125. It is up there in price for an eyeshadow palette, but you can wait around for the Sephora sales. I got mine 20% off, so it did bring it down. I think it brought it down to under $100 when I bought it with the sale. Natasha Denona sometimes as well does also do sales, and I think on the Natasha Denona website, you can use affiliate codes. I know there are a number of influencers that have affiliate codes that I believe get you 10% off. So it's just up to you where, when, and how much you want to pay for this, how desperate you are to get your hands on it. So the packaging, I want to start off by saying, is absolutely gorgeous. So it does have this 3D like packaging wave into it. And then it also does have this kind of metallic sheen wave to it. It has like a bit of a green to it and a purple, pink, like silver flecks through it. So it is a bit like of a multi-chrome, duochrome packaging as well. Then when you open up the palette, there is a ginormous mirror in there. It does also have the holes on the back. So if you do have certain colors in other Natasha Denona palettes that are this size, that you want to pop these out and take like a custom palette away with you. So if you want to customize like a more neutral palette with a few pinks in it, you can do that with this palette as well. So this palette does have a purple color story to it. So if you don't love purples, like by all means, this palette is not for you at all. It does also have some varying pink tones in there, and when I speak to the purples, there are purples that are more like a cranberry tone of purple, and there are purples that are more like a magenta-y pink tone to them. But overall, it is very purple toned, and you're gonna get purple looks from this palette, obviously. In terms of getting different looks with this palette, you're gonna have to be grabbing for something else and bringing that in to use coupled with this palette. The net weight of the palette is 17.15 grams. It has 15 shades in there. So the Natasha Denona website breaks this down saying it has 2 sparkling foiled shades, 2 duochromes, including 1 unique graphic designed shade assembled with new filling technology for a custom duochrome, which I believe they're referring to Bolt when they say that. 1 metallic, 1 wet effect, and crystal sparkling topper. It also debuts a brand new silky matte formula in 8 mesmerizing shades. So that's what they're talking about here when they say all that. So Natasha Denona really drew me in, and she does quite often with the like marketing images that she did with this palette. I'll pop a few on the screen now. They're just really beautiful, and I personally myself, purple is my favorite color. It's also my favorite eyeshadow color to wear, so that's also what really drew me into this palette. I tossed and turned, and I like thought about buying this palette for a number of weeks, and then when the Sephora sale popped up around Christmas time, actually I think it might have been like their pre-Black Friday sale, 20% off, I just decided to bite the bullet and pick it up, and spoiler alert, I'm not disappointed. Okay, so let's go through and swatch all of the shades with you. So I'm going to swatch through how the website has them listed, because that's just gonna make it easier for me to go through it, and the website has them swatched like down in rows, starting from the bottom, working my way to the top. So the first shade is Sweet Pea. The Natasha Denona website describes this as a silky matte light medium warm lilac. moving on, we have Concord. Now I am wearing Concord on my eyes today. Concord is described as a sparkling foiled medium violet. Next up is the color Velour. The Natasha Denona website describes this as a silky matte medium lilac. The next color is the color Brink. Brink is a sparkling foiled pink. I don't know whether you're probably not going to be able to see with the color Brink, but when I look at it, I can definitely see like it's got like a pink base and then there's like chunks of like pink sparkle in it. It's very pretty. The last shade on the bottom row is the color Orchid, and this is a silky matte medium purple. We start the middle row with the color Eclipse. Eclipse is a silky matte deep purple. This is one that I find applies better than its swatches, just because it is such a deep purple color. Stargirl is a sparkling foiled duochrome, pink with a bronze champagne shift. The next color is the color Bolt. This is the sparkling foiled graphic designed violet and silver. So this one I find that you can either like mix the colors, or if you are very like delicate, you can actually get like 2 colors out of the one pan, which is kind of cool. That's that one there. It is very like shiny. It definitely gives you like that very shiny, almost like wet look. Heather, silky matte medium dusty coral rose. Cerise, silky matte medium dark muted fuchsia. And then the top row in the palette, we're starting off the row with Dixie. This one's so beautiful. Dixie is a crystal sparkling warm pink with blue and purple specks. Ooh, that's really pretty. That just like really catches the light, gives you that like super wet look. Jacaranda, silky matte medium dark violet. Flutter, sparkling wet effect lilac pink. I don't know if that's catching the light very well. This one is like super kind of chunky almost. It gives you that like really twinkly look. Phoebe, silky matte light lilac. I'm running out of room. This one is like almost like my skin tone, so you're probably not going to be able to see this one very well. And Regal, metallic vintage rose. I'm just going to swatch it on the back of my hand. So that's all of the swatches. I'm really sorry that I'm terrible at spacing them out and they've had to go everywhere, but that's the live swatches. Let's jump on into the looks now. I haven't done any of the looks on camera. I've just done a quick talk through of what I've done with the looks. It just has made it a lot quicker and easier for me to do this video. If you like this style or you don't mind this style, please let me know down in the comments, because I think going forward, if you guys enjoy and appreciate this style of doing reviews, then I think I am much more inclined to do them moving forward, because it just makes the process so much easier and quicker for me. So let me know down in the comments. I'd love your feedback. For this look, I utilized 6 shadows from this palette. So I started the look by laying down my eyeshadow primer. I set the eyeshadow primer with the color Phoebe. So that was just from crease to brow bone. I then went in with the color Velour and I put that in through my crease with a fluffy brush. I also added it to the outer corner. So I placed it on the outer corner and then blended it in my crease all the way to the center. Then I went in with the color Jacaranda and I placed that on the outer corner and I blended that across the lid a little bit and into the crease. Then I placed down the color Eclipse and I focused that on the outer corner. Then on my lid as the lid shade is the color Bolt, which is this kind of like marbled effect shade. Now I noticed with Bolt, when you swatch it with your finger, it comes up really cool. Like you can definitely see like the clear separation of the colors when you swatch it on your finger. But when you place it down, it kind of just turns into this kind of purpley silver color. I then went in on the inner corner with Stargirl, just ever so slightly, like right on the inner corner. Under my lower lash line, I ran the color Jacaranda right on the outer corner and I blended that across really tight to my waterline till about halfway. And then I went in with the color Velour on more of a fluffy brush and I blended Jacaranda out on the outer corner, and then I continued the rest of the way to my inner corner with the color Velour. So this is look number 2 using the Natasha Denona Roxa palette. So I just wanted to go through with you and share how I got this look and I guess my thoughts. So for this look, I started by laying down a base of my Laura Mercier Caviar Stick in Moonstone. And so I laid that down on my lid and blended it out into my crease. This color here, Ceres, and I popped that on the outer corner, blended it across the Caviar Stick and then into the crease. I've also utilized a touch of Sweet Pea and I blended that like along the edge just to soften that edge. On the lid, I have the color Flutter. So I just have that patted on the lid. I just used my finger to apply actually, and I applied that over the top of the Caviar Stick. Inner corner is Stargirl. I don't know if you can see that. And then on the lower lash line, I just blended that same color that I have in my crease, Ceres, all along the lower lash line. No eyeliner, no wing or anything, just mascara today. And this is the look that I created. I actually quite like it. I feel like it's just like a really nice, it's not as intense as the last look I created, but I feel like this is a little bit more wearable. It's got more kind of those magenta mauve kind of tones, and it was super easy to do. Literally like 2 colors and you could get this look. I amped it up a little bit by using 4 colors. So for this look I used kind of like the softer tones in the palette. So I ran Sweet Pea basically all over my lid, through the crease, blended it up towards my brow bone and on the outer corner, focused it on the outer corner. I added a touch of Velour on the outer corner just to add a little bit more depth and definition on the outer corner. I then went in and topped Sweet Pea with Regal. And I just applied that using my finger, so it's just like this really light wash. I've added a wing using the color Eclipse, so that's what the wing you can see is created with. And then under my lower lash line, I just ran the color Velour, so that's very softly under my lower lash line. And then inner corner is Stargirl yet again. It's very soft and it's quite, I feel like it's a little bit out of my comfort zone. I don't really often go for these softer or these really softer tones. And I don't know exactly whether it really goes well with my complexion, but I just wanted to try something a little bit different with the palette. It's probably a little bit more pinker than I'm used to, but I think it turned out really pretty and it was just something different, playing around with a few more colors in the palette. To get this look, it's kind of quite similar to the other looks, but I'm starting to realize this palette is kind of, it's not one note, but it's very pink and purple, and I knew that getting into it. I'm not mad about it, but in terms of the variation in the looks I guess I will review that when I look at all the looks back. But this is what I was vibing today. So I really wanted to use the color Brink, which is this one here. So I did use Brink on the lid. That's the shimmer on the lid. Now to start off, I went through the crease with the color Sweet Pea. So that was all through my crease and I blended it up towards my brow bone. I then went over the top of that with Velour, and then I focused Velour on the outer corner of my eye. I then went into Orchid and I basically went right over where I just placed Velour down. I then went in with my finger, just my little ring finger, and I laid down the color Brink. I then decided I didn't really quite have enough definition for my liking on the outer corner. So I then went in with the color Eclipse just on the outer corner and I blended it in. Once I did that, I kind of lost a little bit of Brink. So I just went back in with Brink and I like tapped it over the lid. Under my eyes, I run the color Velour all the way under my eyes and then on the outer corner of my under eye, just like the outer third of my under eye, I went in with the color Orchid. I did a black wing as well on both sides, and then my inner corner I actually laid down some of my Pat McGrath Intensifies Artistry wand because I really wanted to make sure it was sticking on my inner corner. I went in with a combo of the color Flutter and Stargirl, and I kind of like just dabbed in both of them and placed it down on my inner corner. My method today, I had a lot of fallout, so I always do my eyes first, but even doing my eyes first today, I did find it a little bit difficult to get rid of the shimmer, the pink shimmer from Brink under my eyes. So it was a bit of effort. So I would recommend a glitter glue. I didn't actually apply a glitter glue or anything on my lid. It was just my eyeshadow primer. I would recommend a glitter glue with at least Brink. Probably the shimmers in general in this palette. I think you're going to get more of an intense, like pretty color payoff, but it's also going to help reduce the fallout. So I started off by placing the color Heather on my outer corner and I blended it right through to the center crease. I then placed Dixie on my lid and I started by applying this with a brush, and then I just decided that a finger would probably be easier, so I just went in with my ring finger and applied this all over the lid. Then deepened the outer corner up ever so slightly with Cerise. I then wanted to just add a little bit more color to the shimmer on the lid, so I dotted Concord over the lid ever so slightly just with my finger. I just like tapped it over the lid just to give it a little bit more purple to the lid color. Then went in with my little black wing under my lower lash line. It's a mix of Heather and Concord. So I went with Heather, blended it under my lower lash line all the way from the outer corner to the inner corner. I then went with Concord over the top, and it's just made it like a little bit more of a deeper purple, and it's added a little bit of a shimmer to the lower lash line. And then on the inner corner we have the color Dixie, which is a beautiful inner corner color. So this is the final look using the Roxa palette. Okay, so those were all the looks. Make sure to let me know down in the comments which one was your favorite. So now I just want to give you my final thoughts and roundup of this palette. Do I like this palette? Yes, I do. I don't think it's for everyone though. I totally understand that not everyone would really vibe with this palette. There are a number of shades in this palette that I would potentially swap out just because I don't think they really suit me all that well. But in saying that, I do think there's utility in having them in the palette just for transitioning and blending purposes. But I prefer, me personally, I just like to like lay a color down and then I'll blend it out until it looks good, rather than using a lot of different colors to blend something out. I would rather just lay it down and then blend it until the edges look nice. So that's like more my style of how I like to do my makeup, and having this many different like really light tones. I don't love these really light pink tones on my skin tone. I just don't think they really suit me all that much. I prefer those more like magenta mauve type colors rather than these really like soft pinky purple tones. The shimmers in this palette are beautiful. Some of these like glassy, like shimmer type colors I really enjoy. Not a big lover of like this one down here, like Concord. Brink is okay, but I prefer these more like kind of sheer wash, kind of twinkly, sparkly colors. I just think that they go really nicely with the rest of the mattes in the palette. The mattes in the palette, they seem to be this new like silky matte formula, and I will say I think that they're really nice to work with. They blend really nicely, they lay down really nicely. I didn't really find them get patchy at all. So I really enjoyed working with them, and they work really well together and also individually. So if you are wanting like a more smoother kind of matte formula to work with, I found it pretty easy and effortless, and it was like not problematic to work with. The shimmers, I think for me personally, the shimmers perform better with a finger application. I just think you get more of that like twinkly or that wet look effect on your eyelids if you are applying them with your finger. I know not everyone loves that, but I just think that's the way to go with these ones. I like that they are playing around with new formulas. I like that they're playing around with just leveling up their matte formulas. I like that they're playing around with putting multiple different shimmer formulas in a palette. I just think it makes the palette a lot more versatile. It gives you a lot of different styles of looks, and also it gives you the ability to play around with applications with those particular shades to get different effects. I just think it makes the palette that much more versatile. I would like to see a color darker than Eclipse. I think if there was either a black or just like a blackened purple in here. I know they describe Eclipse as a silky matte deep purple, but if there was a blackened purple, like a blackberry color, like a really deep, rich blackberry blackened purple, I think that that would really add to this. I think that it could just level it up that one step further to give you those more like really sexy, sultry, like date night looks. I know not everyone loves a black in every single palette, but I just think that this palette would really benefit from a black or a blackened purple. I also wanted to mention that I know quite often, I personally as well suffer from this all the time. I find sometimes purples very much will stain my eyes, and I didn't find I had any staining with these eyeshadows, especially these like really deep ones. I often find shadows like these purples here stain my eyes, especially if they're like pigments or anything like that. I didn't find any staining with this. I always use my NARS Smudge Proof Eyeshadow Primer when I use this palette, and when I use that, I didn't get any staining at all. All in all, I do really like this palette. I know that it has a specific audience for it. I would not recommend this palette for everyone, but if you, like me, really enjoy purple eyeshadows, or even if you like those kind of more bridal-esque pink eyeshadow looks, I think this one would also be enjoyable for you. In saying that though, if you are one that really only likes those really soft pink looks, you may not get that much use out of this palette because there are some deeper shadows in there, but you could play around with just dabbing them a little bit on the outer corner and blending them out ever so slightly to give you some variance in the palette. And you have those tones in here that are purple leaning or also purple adjacent, but it gives you some more variety and chances to play with some different variances and different undertones to purple. So I think Natasha Denona has done a really good job on this palette. So I do like this palette. I recommend it for those of you that love purple eyeshadows and you want to just, you know, get some different formulas, have a bit more of a play with purple. If you want like a really bright, fun, colorful eyeshadow palette, I don't think this is it for you. This is very much a one color note palette. So maybe check out more of like those variety eyeshadow color palettes, like your Be Perfect Carnival palettes, or even your Glam Light palettes. Those aren't so monochromatic like this one. You're gonna get more variation in colors in those palettes. This one is very much a purple palette, and I'm not mad about it. I really like purple eyeshadow. I am very much glad that I picked this one up. I very much enjoyed playing with it. I really like beautiful, like twinkly, wet look eyeshadows at the moment, and this one definitely delivered. I am not mad. So that is my thoughts on the Roxa palette. Let me know down in the comments if you did pick this one up over Christmas or you're thinking about picking it up. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. If you've got this one, do you recommend it? Are you enjoying it as much as I have? If you enjoyed it, give it a big thumbs up, subscribe if you want to keep up to date on future content. That's it for this video, beautiful. I hope you're having an absolutely fantastic day, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.